Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting straight to it. We're analyzing a framework, a pretty powerful one, designed to give leaders that gift of vision.
Yeah, the ability to spot those big transformative opportunities where, most people just see roadblocks,
Right.
impenetrable obstacles.
Exactly. And we should be clear, this isn't just theory, is it?
Not at all. The source material we're looking at, it's a full toolkit. It's packed with discussion questions, reflective exercises, actual action plans.
Right.
It's really built to connect that high-level leadership thinking with, what you actually do day to day.
How does it do that primarily?
Well, the core idea is cultivating perspective,
Yeah.
but specifically one that's rooted in purpose, in conviction, maybe even faith for some, rather than just reacting out of fear or looking at the simple probabilities.
Okay, so our mission here today is to pull out the key mechanisms, the ways this framework forces you, the listener, to challenge your own assumptions, those limiting beliefs.
And then, critically, how to turn that internal shift into real, measurable growth for your organization or your team.
Right. So let's unpack this. Where does it start? What's the first big idea?
It kicks off by tackling this fundamental conflict, this tension between just having knowledge and having true vision.
Okay.
The initial questions really push you. They make you identify assumptions you hold about success or leadership that might be, boxing you in without you realizing it.
So it's asking something like, how do you actually tell the difference in your daily grind, between a decision based on the data you have the knowledge and one that's genuinely visionary that needs something more?
Precisely. And it uses a powerful story to illustrate this tension. The source calls it Lessons from the 12 Spies.
An old analogy, but maybe you could frame that for us. How does it apply here?
Sure. Think of it as a kind of historical case study in cognitive bias during strategic planning. You have a group assessing a challenge. Same information, same situation.
Okay.
10 members of the group focus only on the obstacles, the size, the risk. Their report back is basically, nope, can't be done. That's, fear driving the analysis.
Right.
Analysis paralysis.
Right, the negative report.
But two people using the exact same data, they see the potential, the resources, the ultimate goal, the purpose. And they say, look, we can absolutely do this. We have the capacity. So it immediately forces a leader to ask themselves, okay, when my view differs from the consensus, especially the comfortable consensus, is my stance coming from real conviction, rooted in purpose? Or is it just a calculation based on the perceived risks? Fear, basically.
And the psychological insight there, that's really sharp. It's about self-limiting beliefs, isn't it? The framework talks about seeing grasshoppers instead of giants.
Exactly that.
Wow.
You're facing a big challenge, a giant. But the real problem isn't the giant itself. It's your internal view, your self-perception that you are the grasshopper, too small, too incapable.
That's powerful. And it connects directly to things like organizational culture, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. It directly challenges groupthink. It makes you ask, how many of our team's crucial decisions lately have been shaped more by wanting consensus, by avoiding fear, rather than by a maybe uncomfortable but courageous, purpose-driven insight?
That's the difference between just surviving and actually transforming, isn't it?
But that's what the framework argues, yes.
But, okay, let me push back slightly. Isn't there a danger here? If you start championing conviction that seems to fly in the face of data, how do you stop that from becoming, reckless delusion? How does the framework guard against that?
That's a critical question. And the toolkit addresses it directly. It argues conviction can't just be wishful thinking. It has to be anchored. That's why one of the early exercises involves journaling.
Journaling, how does that help anchor it?
It's not just, writing down feelings. It's a structured process.
Yeah.
You systematically journal alternative interpretations of the challenges you face. You practice viewing problems not just as roadblocks, but potential resources or opportunities in disguise.
So it's about cognitive reframing.
Exactly. It's like building new neural pathways for seeing possibility, for optimism. It ensures the vision is a disciplined reframe, grounded in purpose, not just some wild fantasy.
Okay, that makes sense. And what I find really interesting is how it moves beyond just identifying this fear trap. It essentially says, okay, fear might be a structural weakness in how you lead, so you need new blueprints to rebuild.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
And this is where, for me, it gets really practical and compelling, because it offers very specific exercises to actually shift that internal lens.
Right, we move from diagnosis to the actual rebuild.
Okay.
And the first tool, which is really foundational, is something called the Promise Portfolio. It's in Chapter 3 of the source material.
Promise portfolio. What does that involve?
It's designed to shift your reliance away from just external calculations, forecasts, probabilities, towards an internal anchor.
How does it work?
You actively list out, say, 3 to 5 core principles or, more concretely, past experiences. The source calls them promises or maybe evidence of God's faithfulness for some, or just times when purpose and conviction led to breakthroughs.
So real examples from your own history.
Undeniable examples. Times when you or your organization overcame what seemed like impossible odds because you acted on conviction, not just calculation. Then you start mapping current strategic decisions against this portfolio.
Okay, I see. So the mechanism is you're forcing yourself to give more weight to past evidence of your capacity, your purpose-driven successes.
Exactly. You let that weigh heavier than the current fear of risk attached to a new decision. You're basically changing the weighting in your internal risk assessment.
I like that. It gives structure to the non-quantitative side of leadership. You're not just relying on the spreadsheet numbers, the human probability stuff. You're anchoring decisions in your defined purpose, your proven conviction.
It gives the vision historical legs, so to speak. Makes it feel less like a leap in the dark.
Okay, that definitely changes the game. How does that connect to the next tool?
It connects directly. Because once you start anchoring in past successes, you can tackle your self-perception. Tool 2 is the leader identity statement from Chapter 5. This confronts that grasshopper feeling head-on.
Sounds intense. What's involved? Cognitive restructuring.
Pretty much. You have to reflect honestly. Where do I feel small? Where do I feel structurally limited? And then you write a powerful affirmative statement. It declares your true capacity, your identity, rooted in your purpose, not your limitations.
And this isn't just a feel-good mantra.
No. It's positioned as a tool for active neural retraining. You repeat it, you declare it intentionally, forcing your brain to internalize a new, bolder self-schema.
And the application? How do you make it stick?
It's immediate. You commit to using that statement. Find at least one leadership decision each week where you consciously push past that old perceived limit. You align your action with a new defined identity. That's the practice.
That's how you actively retrain yourself out of those past limitations. Okay, what's the third tool?
The third one brings in a more spatial, strategic view. It's the perspective map from Chapter 6.
Okay.
It's a visualization exercise.
Mapping. What exactly?
You draw or map out 3 things. 1, where are you, or the organization right now, the present? 2, where have you been? The past noting key patterns, obstacles, even historical failures. And 3, where are you going? The future vision.
So it's not just drawing, it's analytical visualization. Mapping the past seems key there.
It really is. Because it helped you spot those historical blind spots or biases that might be unconsciously twisting your view of the future. You're assigning weight to past patterns.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say you map the past and see a recurring pattern. Every time finances got tight, you underinvested in talent development. That's the historical pattern.
Okay.
Seeing it on the map forces you to recognize how that past behavior might be invisibly dictating a safe choice, now maybe delaying a key hire that actually limits your future growth potential.
So you see the misalignment between the past behavior, the present reality, and the future vision.
Exactly. And once you see it, you can create a tangible plan to course correct the behavior. Not just chase a different outcome, you address the root pattern.
Okay, these tools are really about rewiring the internal perspective. Now, how do we translate that refined vision, that stronger identity, into actual daily action? That's where resilience comes in.
Precisely. And the sources move right into that practical application.
Yeah.
There's an exercise called the Fear to Faith framework or action plan. Sometimes it's labeled differently, but the concept's the same.
Fear to faith. Sounds like it tackles fear directly.
It does. It's about practicing measured courage. That you can't just leap from being paralyzed by fear to, total transformation overnight.
So what's the mechanism? How does it work?
It's iterative. You identify maybe 3 current specific fears actively influencing your leadership right now. Fear of, say, financial loss on a project, fear of your team resisting a change, fear of public failure if something doesn't pan out.
Real concrete fears.
Yes. Then for each one, you have to actively reframe it. Reframe it as a purpose-driven opportunity or a potential lesson.
So if the fear is, I'm scared to launch this risky new service.
The reframe might be, this is a chance to test our team's innovation capacity, and we'll learn hugely whatever the market outcome. Something like that.
Okay. And
Then comes the action. But it's small. You develop one small, actionable step, like a minimum viable action, to practice courage related to that specific reframed fear. It's about building the courage muscle incrementally, not making one giant, terrifying leap.
Building the muscle. I like that. And
Yes.
it anticipates the next challenge, doesn't it? Because if you
Yeah.
do start acting boldly, resistance is pretty much a
Look,
guarantee.
absolutely inevitable. And that's what often separates a leader who just has a vision from one who actually executes it and builds resilience. So Chapter 7 introduces the courage plan or resistance readiness exercise.
Preparing for opposition, how does that work?
It's proactive, critical foresight.
Yeah.
You actually list out potential sources of resistance before you even make the big move. Don't wait for it to hit you.
Be specific, right?
Very specific.
Yep.
Is the pushback likely to come from, say, certain departments protecting their turf, a skeptical board member, maybe financial controllers worried about short-term costs due to a conservative culture? Name them.
And identifying them upfront lets you strategize.
Yes. You develop contingency plans. You identify and line up allies who share the conviction before the fight starts. You might design the rollout in incremental steps to manage the pushback. The point is, when opposition inevitably arrives, you can act boldly, but you're not being reckless. You've anticipated it.
You've wargamed it, essentially.
In a sense, yes. Planned for the friction.
Okay, so you've got the internal shift, the action plan, the resistance plan. But vision is useless if nobody else gets it, right? Communication must be key.
Huge. Chapter 9 deals with this. There's a vision casting practice. This isn't just about giving a speech. It requires you to communicate your vision clearly, maybe to a key team member, a peer, a mentor, and then actively solicit feedback.
But not just feedback on clarity.
No, specifically feedback to uncover where their assumptions or gaps in their understanding might be limiting alignment with your vision. Are they still seeing grasshoppers even after you've described the giants?
So the goal isn't to defend your vision during that practice.
Not primarily. It's to refine how you communicate it. You need to diagnose the disconnects. Then you adjust your style, maybe find different analogies, recast the vision until you achieve genuine alignment and buy-in from those key stakeholders.
Makes sense. You need to bring people along. Finally, how does this whole thing become sustainable? Not just a one-off workshop kind of thing.
Habit. It all hinges on building a sustainable habit. Chapter 8 outlines the daily vision discipline.
Daily. What does that entail?
It suggests setting aside religiously maybe 15-20 minutes every single day for focused reflection, maybe prayer for some, or dedicated mentorship time, whatever works for the leader. But the focus is solely on sharpening that visionary perspective. It's like constantly cleaning and focusing the lens.
Keeping the vision sharp.
And there's an action component too. The discipline includes committing to implement at least one insight or actionable step identified during that daily reflection time each week.
So it ensures follow-through.
Exactly. It creates consistency. And that consistency is how you compound small insights, small adjustments in perspective into massive strategic advantages over time. You're training your eyes, your leadership instincts to spot those opportunities others just walk past.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this. What does this all boil down to? We've seen that visionary leadership, according to this framework, isn't just some innate talent. It's actually a structured, repeatable practice.
Yes. A consistent, intentional process. Organizing how you reflect, how you anchor yourself, and how you act. Shifting away from fear, away from just relying on human probability.
And instead, defining your identity and actions based on a deeply rooted purpose and conviction.
And the utility is clear. It brings clarity to complex decisions, it provides focus for execution, and it aims for sustainable growth that's anchored in something deeper than just market trends.
And you mentioned there are even more advanced exercises.
Yeah, for continuous improvement. Things like a full 90-day application plan to really embed these practices, and even scenario testing exercises to build foresight, to prepare for future disruptions proactively.
So the whole toolkit is really designed to push leaders beyond those conventional, often fear-based ways we measure success. Which leads us to our final thought for you, the listener.
If you were to really embrace these principles, use that promise portfolio, consciously shed the grasshopper thinking, lead with that measured courage, practice that daily discipline.
If you did that consistently, say, for the next 5 years, what would tangible success actually look like for you, for your organization? And maybe more importantly, how would that picture of success be fundamentally different from the conventional goals, the standard metrics you might be chasing right now?
Something to explore.